As they pushed through the leaves, they came face to face with a pair of sharp and curly horns. "Help! What's that?" said the creature. "Oh, it's only a sheep," said Pat. "A field full of sheep. Have you seen my string? Bar, black sheep, have you any string?" The string seemed to wind in and out of the legs of the sheep as though they had been doing some kind of dance with it. "Can you all stand still for a minute whilst I sort this out?" said Pat. But the sheep would not stand still at all. It took Pat ages to unwind the string from the hooves and horns of all those frisky sheep. At last it was free. Pat said, "Bye-bye, black sheep, and white ones as well." Pat followed the string through a gap in the wall and up another hill. Then he saw it going high up into the branches of a big tree. "Well, there must be something special at the end of such a very long piece of string. Whatever can it be?" said Pat. He heard someone crying. "Who is that behind the tree?" "Oh, goodness me, young Katie and Tom. What are you doing here? And what are you crying about?"
"It's our new super kite, Pat," said Katie. "Stuck in the top of this tree," said Tom. "We can't get it down," said Katie. "And we've lost our string as well," said Tom.
"Here's your string," said Pat, "safe and sound, and I'll find a way to get your kite, never fear, so dry up those tears." Pat pulled at the string, but the kite would not move. It does seem to be properly stuck. There's Peter ploughing that field. I wonder if he can help. "Peter! Hi! Peter!" Peter Fogg was too busy ploughing to bother about a kite in a tree. Just at that moment, Ted Glen came along in his lorry. Pat could see a ladder on the back, so he ran to the road and flagged Ted down. "Can we borrow your ladder for 5 minutes to get a kite out of that tree, Ted?" "Well, I can't stop long," said Ted. "I've got to mend Dr. Gilbertson's greenhouse before the frost gets at her tomatoes. Did you say a kite?" "Yes, it won't take long." "Is that young Katie and Tom? Is it their kite?" "Yes." "Right." Pat and Ted soon had that ladder off the lorry and over the wall. Ted Glen said, "I'll hold the ladder, Pat. Steady as you go." Pat went wobbling up the ladder into the tree. "Well, bless me, there's the kite. And Jess as well," said Pat. "How did you get here, Jess?" "Meow," was all that Jess would say. "Come on, Jess, don't be frightened. Come on, I'll just carry you down, then I'll come back for the kite." Pat could almost reach Jess, but when he stretched his arms out towards him, the silly cat backed away along the branch. "Oh, Jess, don't do that. Look out!" Pat's arm caught the kite, and away it went, swooping down to the ground. Katie and Tom called up.
Oh, thanks, Pat.
"Now get along home, you two," called Pat. "Your mum will be wondering where you've got to."
"All right, Pat," called Katie. "Thanks, Pat," called Tom. "Bye."
we've got the kite, but poor old Jess is stuck up here now, said Pat. He could not reach Jess no matter what he did. Well, I'll have to get a move on, said Ted. Dr. Gilbertson will never forgive me if the frost gets to her tomatoes. Pat came down the ladder, saying, Well, Jess got up the tree on his own, so I hope he can get down the way he went up. You don't need to bother about Jess, said Ted. He's already here, waiting for you. Bless us all, said Pat. Has that cat got wings? No one ever knew how Jess had got down safely. Ted waved goodbye. Thanks, Ted, said Pat. Good luck with the greenhouse. Where is that cat now? But Jess was sitting on the wall next to Pat. Hello, have you popped up again? You get everywhere, don't you, Jess? Pat had to make his way back, all across the muddy fields, over the hills and through the bushes, to find his van and deliver the letters. The only thing was, well, all the fields looked alike, and Pat didn't know which way to go. And Jess had disappeared again. What a time he had. He came to a road at long last and saw a man walking along. Now that looks like somebody I know. It was Mr. Pringle. Hello, Pat, said Mr. Pringle. Just out for a walk, you know, having a look at the flowers and the trees. Are you looking for your van? Well, yes, I was just wondering. 3 fields that way. Turn left at the boggy bit. Don't go in the field with the bull in it, and you'll be there in a jiffy. Oh, thanks, Mr. Pringle. Thanks. Bye. Pat was on his way. It seemed much further than Mr. Pringle had said. He came to a road. It looked like one that Pat knew. There was no sign of his van, but there was the hum of an engine coming round the corner. Was it Sam Waldron's mobile shop? Yes, it was, and Sam stopped to see why Pat was standing there, all alone. Hello, Pat. Anything wrong? Have you seen my van anywhere? You can't have lost it, Pat. It's too big to lose. I was following a trail. A trail? Pat told Sam the whole story. How Sam laughed. I'm calling at Greendale Farm in a few minutes, Sam said. I'll make sure the twins got home safely. Your van's just round that corner. It's safe enough. Bye, Pat. Bye, Sam, and thanks. Pat soon found his van, but where was Jess? There was no sign of him. Pat went to clean his shoes on the grass, and when he came back to the van, there Jess was, curled up in his basket, pretending to be asleep. How did you get there? Said Pat. I never saw you creep in. Well, we'd better get these letters delivered before the frost gets at them. We don't want to be late for tea. But Jess was dreaming of string trails that led to mice, and saucers of milk, and plates of fish.
Postman Pat, and his black and white cat. All the birds are singing, and the day is just beginning. Pat feels he's a really happy man. Pat feels he's a really happy man. Pat feels he's a really happy.